Imagine this for a moment. In a world trending toward multi-polarity, where the dominance of a single pole is collapsing, the Middle East stands at a crossroads. An Iranian-Saudi rapprochement being reshaped amidst wars and tensions might redraw the map of regional balance or accelerate the collapse of the old order. Are we witnessing the end of the era of strategic attrition between Riyadh and Tehran, or merely a temporary truce paving the way for a greater escalation? Greetings to you all. I am Professor Nadia. Today, we will dive deep behind the scenes to understand how this Saudi-Iranian rapprochement affects the region's geopolitics, global supply chains, and strategic deterrence. As always, I welcome you to a calm and deep intellectual journey far from the media noise. This video is designed to give you the tools to understand what is really happening behind the scenes. Let begin. Let us start by dissecting the current reality accurately. The Iranian-Saudi rapprochement was not a sudden event, but the product of years of accumulated tensions and cold strategic calculations. In March 2023, with Chinese mediation in Beijing, Riyadh and Tehran signed an agreement to resume diplomatic relations. Embassies were reopened, the 2001 Security Cooperation Agreement was activated, and high-level contacts continued until late 2025. Saudi Arabia, led by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, pursues Vision 2030, which aims to diversify the economy away from oil, attract investments, and transform the kingdom into a tourism and commercial hub. Any regional escalation threatens this vision, especially with reliance on oil supply chains through the Strait of Hormuz, through which about 20% of global oil production passes. Riyadh wants stability that allows for increased production and Asian investments. Iran, for its part, faces harsh international sanctions and an economic downturn, with inflation exceeding 40% in some periods. It relies on the axis of resistance, the Houthis in Yemen, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and militias in Iraq and Syria to enhance its strategic deterrence. Militarily, Iran possesses an advanced arsenal of ballistic missiles and drones, while Saudi Arabia relies on advanced American air defense. Tehran seeks to break its isolation and ease the pressure. Recent events revealed the fragility of this rapprochement. With the outbreak of major regional tensions in 2025 and 2026, Riyadh maintained a relatively neutral stance, refusing to use its territory for operations against Iran, but kept communication channels open. In Yemen, the unofficial truce since 2022 contributed to calming the front. In Syria and Lebanon, sectarian tensions decreased, but the competition for influence remained. This reflects a shift from direct confrontation to managing mutual strategic attrition. Let us go back a little to understand the historical roots. The competition dates back to the Iranian Islamic Revolution in 1979, which transformed Iran into a revolutionary state seeking to export its model. Saudi Arabia, as the leader of Sunni Islam and guardian of the holy mosques, saw this as an existential threat. The era of proxy wars established itself in Iraq after 2003, in Syria, where Iran stood with Assad, and in Yemen since 2015, where Riyadh led a coalition against the Houthis. The shadow players are primarily China and the United States. China, with its mediation in 2023, was not entirely neutral. It is the largest importer of Saudi and Iranian oil and sees regional stability as a guarantee for the Belt and Road Initiative. The Beijing Agreement reflected Beijing's desire to enhance its role as a mediator, multi-polarity, away from American hegemony. As for Washington, it saw the rapprochement as a challenge to its influence, especially with Riyadh's attempts to diversify partnerships, arms deals with Russia and China, and joining BRICS. Hidden implications include reshaping supply chains. Decreased escalation risks allowed oil prices to stabilize relatively. But doubts are deep. Saudi Arabia still relies on the American security umbrella, while Iran retains asymmetric deterrence capabilities. The Strait of Hormuz makes any direct confrontation catastrophic. Now, let us pose three potential scenarios based on the current strategic balance. First, the optimistic scenario. The rapprochement strengthens into a sustainable détente, supported by continuous Chinese mediation and shared economic interests. Support for proxies decreases, Yemen and Syria stabilize, and trade across the Gulf flourishes. Riyadh advances in its Vision 2030, and Tehran partially breaks its isolation. Multipolarity is temporarily slowed. Alternatively, the pessimistic scenario. The rapprochement collapses due to external escalation, such as American-Israeli pressure or a crisis in Yemen or Lebanon. Proxy wars return strongly, with a potential closure of the Strait of Hormuz or attacks on oil facilities, raising oil prices to over $150 per barrel and causing a global recession. American hegemony is temporarily enhanced, but at the expense of long-term stability, with escalating sectarian tension. The realistic scenario, and the most likely. The rapprochement continues as a fragile management of competition, with fluctuations according to external pressures. Riyadh maintains a balance between Washington and Beijing, while Tehran uses the rapprochement to ease pressure without abandoning its regional influence. Strategic deterrence remains in place, with limited progress in economic cooperation, trade, and energy. China emerges as an energy mediator. In conclusion, the Iranian-Saudi rapprochement reminds us that history is not a straight line, but a complex dance between interests, geography, and ideology. In the era of multipolarity, unilateral hegemony is no longer possible. I invite you now to participate. Who will rule the world in the coming decade? Will American hegemony prevail, or will multipolarity impose a new reality? Subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and see you in a future Geopolitical lecture. I am Professor Nadia. Thank you, and stay informed.